Charles preferred St Paul's, on our left-hand side there. If you look to your right now, however, you'll see the Millennium Bridge. The Millennium Bridge, formerly known as the Wibbly-Wobbly Bridge. This is because when the Millennium Bridge was first opened to the public and people walked across it, it used to wibble and wobble. Actually, it moved so ferociously that a lot of people felt very seasick. Walking across it, people actually got nauseous. It was considered a health hazard, so it was shut just after 2 days, and it was further constructed. Some more supporting beams were added to it. So the Millennium Bridge. So the Millennium Bridge, no longer a Wibbly-Wobbly Bridge, but sometimes the Wibbly-Wobbly Bridge. Really because it's an excuse to say wibbly-wobbly in everyday life. So as I mentioned before, St Paul's has been used quite often for quite historic occasions. But if you look back at it now, notice the very top of St Paul's Cathedral, you should see some people standing there. If you go inside of St Paul's, you're more than welcome to climb to the very top and stand on that balcony and view the city around you. Perhaps not one for those of us with vertigo, I would imagine. Just get a stunning view of the city. And just below that balcony is the dome of St Paul's Cathedral, which is home to a place called the Whispering Gallery. The Whispering Gallery takes its name from the fact that the acoustics inside of the dome of St Paul's are so fantastic that sound can travel across it almost impeccably. If yourself and a friend were to go into the Whispering Gallery, and if you stood on one side and your friend stood on the other, just opposite you, if you whispered a message into the wall of the gallery, your friend on the other side would hear exactly what you'd said, as though you'd spoken it standing beside them. I have to say, I've actually done it myself, and it's fantastic. It is also very, very scary, if you're standing on your own, and your voice, your name, coming from nowhere. It is fantastic. But yeah, St Paul's also, I mentioned before, it hosted the funeral of Winston Churchill, our wartime Prime Minister. Winston Churchill was very fond of St Paul's Cathedral. It was his favourite building in the city, and he was very, very concerned about its safety during the Second World War, especially during the Blitz, when London was being bombed. In fact, Winston Churchill was so concerned about the safety of St Paul's Cathedral that he hired people to be bodyguards for it. These people's jobs were basically to stop bombs from exploding on the cathedral. So when the air raid sirens were sounded, instead of them running to their air raid shelter, these people would congregate on St Paul's Cathedral, standing on its roof or around it, and their job was literally to prevent bombs from exploding on it. So this entailed them sometimes catching bombs falling from the sky, picking them up off the roof of the cathedral, throwing them away, kicking them away, doing anything they could to stop the cathedral from being damaged. A brave job, absolutely, but they did do a sterling job, as St Paul's Cathedral did survive the Blitz of the Second World War. It suffered very minute aesthetic damage. If anyone's seen any documentaries about the Blitz, there are some rather iconic shots of St Paul's standing very much alone, surrounded by rubble in the city of London. But just a final thing about St Paul's, I really like this fact, so I thought I'd share it with you. A little known fact about St Paul's Cathedral was that it was once visited by Martin Luther King Jr., the great civil rights leader. Martin Luther King visited London in the early 1960s to receive a Nobel Peace Prize. And when he was here, he visited St Paul's. If you go into the crypt of St Paul's Cathedral, which is underground, there's quite an interesting exhibition about the cathedral's history, which includes a little bit about Martin Luther King's visit. So now we're making our way through the City of London. And as we do so, I encourage you to look out for statues of phoenixes. There are quite a few statues of phoenixes dotted about the city, and their purpose in the city links back to St. Paul's Cathedral. I mentioned to you before that St. Paul's was designed by Christopher Wren. Christopher Wren was a greatly respected architect during his lifetime. He was considered the Leonardo da Vinci of London. So he seemed the obvious choice to design the new St. Paul's. And the story goes that Christopher Wren brought his plans for the cathedral to the site of the one that had been burnt down in the fire, and he laid them out on the ground in front of him. However, it was a very blustery day, very windy, and he had no shelter. So when he laid his plans down, they simply blew away. It kept happening, and he was getting very frustrated. So he asked one of his builders to bring him a piece of stone, a bit of rubble from the old St. Paul's that he could use just as a paperweight to keep all of his plans together. And the young man obliged. He did go over to the site of the old St. Paul's and picked up the first piece of stone that he found, and then he gave it to Christopher Wren. And then Christopher Wren discovered that engraved on that stone was a word in Latin, and that word was resurgam, which means I will rise again. So upon seeing this, Christopher Wren was enlightened, and he was also he felt a great sense of peace. He felt that this was a sign from God that St. Paul's Cathedral, now behind us, and the city of London itself, destroyed by the fire, would one day rise again to its former glory. And so he adopted the phoenix, the bird which bursts into flames and rises from the ashes, to symbolise the new city of London. So as a result, there are a couple of phoenixes around the city. If I see one, I'll point them out to you. Possibly the largest and most obvious one stands on Embankment, just opposite the London Eye. So if you're with me on Embankment, I'll point it out to you.